All right, welcome back, and this is going to be part 2 of the Technics Car Stereo model CQR9550 we were working on about a week or so ago. During that part of the video, we were able to positively identify the correct transistor and resistor that was in the power supply. I had the seller I bought the service manual for take a shot of that with his phone and send it to me so I didn't have to wait for that information. And we got those pieces replaced. The transistor they used in this, they subbed out, was actually a good sub. It was just the wrong type or wrong style of transistor. They used a surface mount and soldered on that versus using a through hole, which we did put in, and that is all working fine now. At that time, I hadn't received the service manual yet, but I do have that now. Not that we need it. We really only needed it for positively identifying those parts, but we're going to use it in this video. The customer has sent me a female DIN connector that he wants an RCA to DIN converter plug made for. So we'll use that manual to pin that out. We could do it if we didn't have a manual with a signal tracer, but we won't need to do that since we have the manual handy. Also ordered a 3-volt lithium battery for this and a belt for the cassette mechanism. I've already tried the cassette mechanism. It does work. One thing surprising to me is the cassette mechanism. It looks like the motor here, the capstan motor, does have a speed control on it. I believe that's what it is. But the service manual does not go in any direction about doing a speed alignment on this. So there's a hole on the motor that looks to me like that's what it's for, but we'll be finding that out. Otherwise, we do have a new belt for that. And so we're gonna get everything wrapped up in this video. So we'll do a little bit more of the intro music here. We're using out of the Cellular by Rat on the last video. We'll finish up with that here in this part 2 of this, and then we'll jump right in. Let's check out a little bit of Scene of the Crime from this. All right, let's go ahead and pick up real quick here before we get started. We'll take a look at the official schematic from the service manual. This service manual, as with all Technics or Panasonics, everything's very well laid out, including the schematic of everything. This was the area we were working in. Luckily, the guy I got this manual from was able to send me this picture. He just took a screenshot with his phone because I knew this manual would be late getting here. So that's how we were able to ID the resistor and the transistor in this from the last week's video. But we're taking a look at the battery that we're replacing today in this. And of course the camera is kind of struggling trying to focus in on this, but I kind of highlighted it in yellow there. It comes down, junctions a couple of times, then goes through a coil, and then makes its way over to the microprocessor. Looks like on pin 58, which is VDD, or voltage in. So they're using 3 volts there, unless it's going through the coil and getting boosted up just a little bit. Now, according to the service manual, they don't address this battery other than in one place. They say if lithium battery is changed, clock will have to be reset. So thinking about that, it's not a pull-out radio, it is a permanent install radio. Not sure why they would be backing the clock up, but I did find a data sheet for this microprocessor, this D75108G. They have a kind of a Technics number here, but the generic number is a D75108G. And there is some onboard memory built in for this, so that's where the code is being stored inside the micro there, or that's what it appears to be anyway. So, but they never address anything as far as the battery and changing the battery would erase the code or anything like that. They say if you forget the code, you would have to send the radio into them and they would restore it. So I'm not sure what they would be doing unless they would just be doing a hard reset on that microprocessor, which would wipe the memory. Not anything we would be willing to attempt to do here to prove that theory, but otherwise we got enough information that we know we want to change the battery because it's barely got a volt in it. So coming over here, we're going to use the manual today. We're going to look at this part of it here where this DIN connection is. It lays out everything perfectly we need for the preamp out, for right, left, and then the 2 grounds. So we'll definitely be doing that. So we'll move on from this and we'll take a look at what the customer sent. This is the female version of the plug for the preamp out. We'll be making him a cable using that. Here's our brand new battery, voltage above 3 volts, brand new as you would expect. And then the belt I got for the mechanism is an SCX 16.0, which would be a very good fit for the one that was on here that was bad. Now, as for the capstan motor, not sure again how well the camera will agree, but you can see there's a hole there. The manual does not address anything as far as speed alignment, but that hole sure looks like there's a pot down in there that you can tweak on. We'll definitely be gently putting a tool down in there to see if that is the case or not. So I think the first thing we'll do, let's go ahead and get this battery swapped out. I've already got one leg of it unsoldered. I put a code in this radio. I unsoldered the battery, hooked the radio back up, set a code in it, and tried the code to make sure it would work, and then unplugged the radio for a couple of days and came back and the code was still held in. So clearly the battery's not needed for that. So maybe it is just for the clock. So let me go ahead and set the camera up overhead and we'll switch out that battery real quick and then we'll move on to the cassette mechanism. All right, let's go ahead and pick back up here. Started the last clip and then realized the batteries in my wireless mic had died. I really wish it would beep or something to give me some kind of an indication since I'm not constantly looking at the transmitter. But I went ahead and got the other battery out and we'll take a look at the voltage of it. Let's see. So it's kind of just right underneath the volt right there, just not really doing anything. So again, I'm sure the radio would work just fine without the battery in there, but we're doing our due diligence here to make it whole again, 100% if we can. Let's go ahead and zoom back in. I already got the one side soldered in. That's when I realized I wasn't even producing any audio. So we'll go ahead and solder up the other end of it, and then we'll clean it up a little bit. The leads on this battery are a little longer, so we're going to trim that off right there. Definitely don't want to apply too much heat to this. Definitely don't want anything going up in smoke on us, or in this case probably exploding. I guess if you got one of those hot enough it would, for sure. Well, let's just wipe up where we've been. And that should take care of that. I think I do want to touch up that one connection just a little bit better. The one that's right next to it here. There we go. Looks good. Don't see anything else. Now let's check the voltage on this one and make sure this is all good. I'm going to zoom out and see if we can get the meter in the shot here. There we go, this should work. We know the positive lead of this was towards the front of the unit. There we go, 3.25, that should work. All right, so I think we're good on that. Now I'll go ahead and flip the radio back over and turn it on just to make sure it works, and then we'll start on the cassette mechanism. All right, let's go ahead and pick back up. Got our cassette mechanism set up here so we can put a belt in it. No big deal. These pulleys, I didn't really need to do a lot of prep to any of this. Everything was nice and clean. The other belt hadn't gooed up or become tacky, so there wasn't really, you know, basically just wiping them off with a Q-tip. I did notice this pulley was just a little sluggish, so I pulled off the clip and re-lubricated that. But otherwise, all of this looks really, really good. Again, the belt we're going to use for this is an SCX 16.0. Should be a good fit for it. And we'll start in the back here. I kind of like to let the belt just kind of take a natural position. I don't want to twist it or have it twisted. I really like for it to just kind of fall into place the way that it should in the grooves of these capstans. And of course, we'll make our way around the back side of this one. And then of course, this end of the belt will hit this pulley right here. And then from that point, we'll just kind of pull it over the capstan. And that should be it, unless it pops out like that. Let's try that again. And that's it. And then I'll look at it just to kind of make sure it's laying uniform. It should be kind of a, you know, top edge of the belt that matches all the way around as it goes through the entire belt path. And that takes care of that. So the next thing we're going to do, there's a little cover that goes over the capstan motor. Let's go ahead and put that back on there. Let's see. Turn it around this way so I can get a look at. There's kind of a little bit of glue there so you know the tape goes right here. And then there was one tiny screw that held it. We'll put that in. Okay. And again, you want the belt snug, but not overly tight. And anytime you can have access to speed control on the motor, then you can tweak out any variances that you might have in the speed. Usually these are all pretty close to what they're supposed to sound like, unless you've got an extremely tight belt or an extremely loose belt, you won't be able to hear any huge variations in the sound. So let's go ahead and we'll put it back into the deck here. Now, I went ahead and put this board back in. There's one screw holding the DIN connector back here, and then one plastic clip. And then the board just, of course, plugs into the main board. I did take the screw out over here on the antenna connector. That was just so I could get a better look down inside here when I got ready to put the board back in there. There we go. Actually, that wasn't in there quite as tight as I needed it to be. So now that's in place. Everything is good there. We're going to go over here and pay attention to the flip door, because there is a lever on this unit that opens that flip door up. And it's right there. And what I have found to be the easiest way to do this is to pull back here, because you're going to have to get that flip door into the groove. I'll see if I can show you the groove that it needs to go into. If you lift the flip door up, there's a groove back there. Let's see if I can find something to point at it. On the right-hand side of the flip door, there's a little channel back here that lever goes into. It doesn't actually go right here on the left. It goes to the right. There's just a little channel that fits into. And again, the best way I've found to do this is to pull back on this lever right here, so you don't have as much of this to worry about, because you're going to have to get this over the mounting place that it goes to. So basically just kind of slide it in like this. And once you get it into place, you can release that lever. And then from there, let's move our cable out of the way. We don't want that to get trapped. And from that point, it should just slip right into position. And one way you know you've got it is if you pull back on this lever, you can see the flip door pulling open there. So let's go ahead and stick a couple screws in the front here. There's two that go in the back. We won't worry about those right now. We'll just put these two in to secure a good ground. And then we'll hook our wires up. We got one in the back here, like I said, next to the antenna. This one's easy to get to, easy to put back into place. Just going to use a pair of bent hemostats to do that. There we go. Takes care of that. This wire runs across here, and this plastic clip on this board is what kind of holds that wire. There's a retainer underneath here. You can slip the wire into, get it out of your way. And to make sure it doesn't get trapped when you try to put the lid on the top of this. And then this just goes down into here. And then there's one more plug here we're going to have to contend with. And that one goes kind of upside down. So it's not as easy to do as the other one on the back side. But I'm going to give it a shot here. And you may be able to put this plug in actually before you put the mechanism in. I may have tried it that way once and it just wasn't. There we go. Yeah, I may have tried to put that plug in one time when I was taking this in and out just to see if it was easier to do it that way, but there's not enough wire on it, I think, to tilt it to where you can get the flip door lever where it needs to go. All right, let's go ahead and fire it up here and make sure our cassette will work, especially since it worked before we did anything to it. I'm going to hook up our bench speakers. And then hook up our B plus here. All right. The radio did turn on. We should have static there. Just in case something went wrong, let's put a record tape in it in case it eats it up or does anything crazy. We haven't lost anything. And it is running, but it is a record tape, so. Okay, let's eject that out. Now, let's put in a real tape and see what the speed sounds like. Seems a little slow to me. And I'm going to put a little treble into this. There we go. Now let's see if we can find out if this turns out to actually be a speed control here. And it is. All right, let's go ahead and eject that back out. Now, why the service manual does not address that, I have no idea why that would not be part of the procedure for the service manual. So I'm not sure why that's the case, but it's not touched on in the service manual that I could find anyway. So the next thing we do here, let me go ahead, I'll get the camera off of the mount and we'll set it up with the alignment tape and we'll tweak that speed out to 3000 and get it locked into exactly where it's supposed to be. So give me a moment for that and then we'll pick back up. All right, let's go ahead and pick back up and we'll tweak our speed up. Now that we know that motor has an actual speed control in it, we should be able to tweak it right to about 3000 hertz or pretty close to that. If the service manual actually had that procedure laid out in it, it would tell you 3000 hertz plus or minus 4 or 5%, somewhere in that ballpark. So you can be running a little bit fast or a little bit slow. As long as it's not excessive, you won't never hear it in the music. So what I'm going to do here, what I've done is basically coupled both speaker outputs into the frequency counter. And so we'll zoom in on that. I'll go ahead and put the speed alignment tape in it, and then we'll tweak it up a little bit here. So we should see it come up with something a lot less than 3000 hertz. And it's at 2974 here. So I'm just going to see if I can tweak it into the ballpark here. It's a very touchy adjustment, so it doesn't take much to get a big difference in change. So we land at about 3003, 3002, somewhere in that neighborhood, and I think I'm going to be okay with that. And on the reverse side, it should be just as good as that. And so what I want to do now is let's go back down to the cassette deck and let's change the speaker leads over. Let's go ahead and eject this tape out. And let's put the speaker leads back into the bench speakers. Let's put a real tape in it and see what it sounds like. Reverse side. Let's go ahead, catch the TPS here, make sure it'll track the silence between the songs. It should be fine. And there it goes. So it sounds pretty good. I think we're pretty much done with this as far as the cassette is concerned. Got a new belt in it, everything's working the way it should be. So I think at this point, let's go ahead and get the DIN plug made. And then we'll do our final play test using the preamp out over into the mixer. So give me a second for that and we'll pick back up. But yeah, it sounds pretty good. All right, so as I pick back up with you, as it turns out, making this cable was the hardest part of this job. I tried to do it a couple different times on film and I kept screwing up. So eventually I just chalked it up into my helping hands and forged forward with it. The connections are really tiny, and so I had to make very, very tiny solder connections. He did want the switched 12 line added to this, so I put that in there. Of course, I got the information right from the service manual, but it looks pretty good here. I don't think there's going to be an issue with it, but we're getting ready to try it. So I'm going to go ahead and put the casing outer housing on this, and then we'll hook it up over to the mixer and make sure the preamp out works. And then we're going to do a final play test on this and wrap it up. All right, let's go ahead and pick up one last time, having a look at this very nice, very cool Technics CQR9550. And I'd like to thank Daniel. Appreciate you sending this to me so I could work on it. It's been a nice treat to see something like this, especially under the brand I've never worked on before for Technics. So as we make our way out of this video, it is going to be Daniel's song he requested for the end song. I recorded it onto this Maxell XL2S blank tape. Billy Thorpe's Children of the Sun is what we're going to hear on the way out. So as always, I want to thank you guys very much. Appreciate you checking out the video this time, as well as all the videos on the channel. And this time of year, I'll be starting up my own projects, working on those throughout the summer. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do first, but there'll definitely be a video in June at some point. So stand by for that. And until then, let's check out a little bit of this classic from Billy Thorpe on the way out.
People of the earth, can you hear me? Came a voice from the sky on that magical night. And in the colors of 1,000 sunsets, they traveled through the world on a silvery light. The people of the earth stood waiting, watching as the ships came one by one, setting fire to the sky as they landed, carrying to the world children of the sun, children of the sun. All at once came a sound from inside. Then a beam of light hit the ground. Everyone felt the sound of their heartbeat. Every man, every woman, every child. They passed the limits of imagination.